Just Homestead and this is why decoy targets are important as ever. Well, channel, know what you think. I'm guessing this is again another Russia-Ukraine war. I see it in the comments where Russian build fake camps. I know this. I've heard about this in the news. How Russia and I think Ukraine is doing as well. It is not surprising to me because psychological warfare. Like if it works, right? They did that in World War II. They do that every time. They even did that in Vietnam War. Americans, I think, like trying to deceive people, right? Here and there, it works. Americans went as far as like making audio tapes to scare Vietnamese. So psychological warfare is a whole thing, right? And I don't know, like in today's world, in today's technology, wouldn't you able to see the difference between two things with like thermal scopes and things like that? Like, oh, there's no heat there, so probably fake, right? I don't know. Even with humans, like at least at night. At day maybe it'd be harder, but even at day I'm pretty sure like sophisticated thermal scopes can see that. I don't know, man. Even like javelin, right? Javelin scopes are also thermal, if I remember correctly. It can be used as a separate thing if you really want to, and they have javelin a lot, Ukrainians. So how is it working, right? Wouldn't it be harder in modern world? I don't know, but it's gonna be a really awesome video because it's from Know What You Think. It's a great channel. I've been watching that a lot. I like his video where he physically goes to a place, like how he went to one of the boats and how he showed. I really want him to go to like Ford class carrier and things like that and actually show around. But yeah, everything he covers is awesome. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like Merrickson, don't forget to subscribe. So that way you can really help out this channel, help out the algorithm. I watch many different type of videos: video games, history, military, mythologies, and science. Anything you can think of, I usually watch it because I started this channel as like what I want to watch, and I'm like, fuck it, why not just like react to it, that type of way. Yeah, it's been 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, the F word might have caused problem, but no, it's like 2 minutes in. So I've watched many different type of videos. So if you really like a certain type of reaction, definitely like, comment, and give any engagement. That will really help out the algorithm. And the more a certain video gets like enough views and things, I try to prioritize that a lot. So yeah, let's watch this one.
For more than 2 years, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has shown what high-intensity modern conflict looks like. Now, while most of the discussion has been focused on high-tech equipment, such as long-range missiles, drones, and air defenses, the less sophisticated but equally important topic of the use of decoy targets went relatively untouched, and for good reasons. For one, neither Ukrainians nor Russians want to publicize their decoy tactics and, more importantly, their effectiveness rates. Both keep this information a closely guarded secret. To understand the true effectiveness of decoys, one of the few sources of information comes from China. According to Chinese battlefield analysis, a 1-to-1 ratio between real and decoy targets increases the survivability of friendly forces and equipment by 40%. Furthermore, the Chinese claim that having 3 decoys to 1 real target increases enemy munitions consumptions by 70% and increases survivability by an additional 50%.
I like how he's talking like all these people are literally sitting in their offices, like how it's like a New York Manhattan office and some kind of a graph, and people say like doing this increases productivity 50%. It's just like, okay, you know what, that is probably what they're doing. That's just insane. But probably offices are made of marble rather than like your average New York office, but still they're probably what they're like 3 to 1, like it will increase 40% and this will increase 50%, like basically graphs. That's where it's like boiled down to statistics. But it makes sense. If you have decoys, you waste ammunition attacking it, so that's like win for you. Enemy has like less like missiles and things now, right? It increased survivability as well, because if you like they can launch 10 rockets at once. You have 30 targets, there's a high chance they might hit like fake targets rather than the real one. So things like that.
To appreciate the significance of these numbers, a very smart Chinese man famously wrote, "All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away."
Oh, it's a real quote. I thought he was going to pull the internet one. Sun Tzu once said, "Get wrecked," or something like that. No, but it's a real quote.
But how drone operators could estimate the weight of a decoy by just looking at it. Why Russians built fake camps of theatrical proportions that are extremely easy to spot by Ukrainians. How candles...
Yeah, if CIA were in charge there, they would see them thinking like, oh my god, Russians are building super soldiers. Look at them, they just lift all that like big truck and everything. No, it's fake.
were used to trick the enemy into wasting their ammunitions. And why Russian decoy tanks are nicknamed Rubber Product Number 2 is not what you think. When it comes to the Ukrainian doctrine for the use of decoys, it's pretty simple. Employ as many decoys as possible to draw away Russian fire from high-value targets. And there is no better example of this tactic than the extensive use of fake HIMARS rocket launchers. Back in the summer of 2022, Russia claimed that they had destroyed 44 HIMARS launchers. At the time, everyone was mocking Russia and making fun of their claims. The Russians were not lying. They really did believe that they had destroyed 44 HIMARS. But the reality was that at the time, the United States had only sent 16 HIMARS launchers to Ukraine. The Russian army had simply fallen prey to decoy warfare, inflatable warfare.
So all Ukraine needs to do is like build those like World War II nukes, like from Fallout or something, with a nuke symbol on it, and a Vault Boy doing this, multiple at the border of Russia, and that's it. War is over. Like, oh my god, they're going nuke now.
A piece of this puzzle became public a year later, in spring of 2023, when a Czech company, Inflatech Decoys, stated that they produce about 35 inflatable HIMARS launchers per month. But the company refused to say how many inflatable decoys they have sent to Ukraine, although I think we can connect the dots. The use of inflatable decoys is of course not a new idea. During World War II, thousands of inflatable decoys were deployed to create phantom armies that threatened Pas-de-Calais in northern France as part of Operation...
Oh my god, I just thought like, why the fuck would you build that separately if you're just gonna make it out of balloon? Why is that turret separately? But then I realized, so they can move it around, right? Somebody told me like every tank video, they're like moving turrets to show that it's real. So somebody observing from the distance, they can just like move that top thing. Like, oh my god, it's a real tank.
Fortitude. The reason was simple: to divert Germany's attention away from Normandy. After the invasion of Normandy by the Allies on June 6, 1944, also known as D-Day, the Phantom Field armies played a role in convincing Germans that Normandy landings were merely a diversionary attack, which in turn made Germans delay sending reinforcements there. This was an example of decoys being used on strategic level. But for what exact reason are decoys used today? The first reason to use decoys is to save the lives of military personnel. Every rocket that hits a decoy is one less rocket that can endanger military personnel. Here's a life hack. If you ever end up on a battlefield, bring a mannequin with you. This would theoretically increase your chances of survival by 40%, which is why both Russians and Ukrainians have been used.
Imagine if world ends tomorrow, Fallout style, and like Fallout style, wanderers go out and in the woods and things you find this mannequin. This is basically Bethesda Game Studios game, but it's a real life. That can't fucking happen, right? Imagine shit like this, just find there's a story behind it, this and that. That's why BGS games are so like unnerving, right? Because it feels real in that aspect. Only if they have like better engine and like better engineers to make the games, that would be some another level.
Using mannequins. One famous example was during the early days of the Russian invasion. Ukrainian forces procured a massive amount of mannequins during the Battle of Kharkiv in order to confuse the oncoming Russian 1st Tank Army. As the Russians attacked trenches manned with mannequins and fake checkpoints, they were ambushed from other sides. This allowed Ukrainians to outmaneuver the Russians, who were eventually forced to withdraw from the city. The second reason is that decoys would force the other side to waste resources and ammunition to hit fake targets. Fake, high-value targets force the enemy to waste long-range FPV drones and artillery shells, like the Russian Lancet
Hold up, did that just missile miss the target? That's insane.
drone that costs over $30,000, or a Krasnopol precision artillery round which costs over $35,000. And the economics of decoys makes their use a no-brainer. For example, the American M777 howitzer costs a few $1,000,000, but a decoy would only cost a few $1,000s.
It's literally inflatable balloon. Why would it even cost a few $1,000s? Like few hundred at best.
The third reason to use decoys is a tactical one. Decoys force the enemy to believe that the opponent is stronger than it.
What is this? Oh my god, this is insane. This is like what? Battle of Warhammer? There you go. What are the names? I forgot. Battle of Rax, right? Or Death Core of Krieg. How did I forget that? The Kriegs are attacking. There you go.
Really is. This often makes the adversary disperse its forces to less than desirable locations. Additionally, decoys can distract the enemy for several hours to a few days, which buys the other side invaluable time. But there is a problem with decoys, and that arose from the invention of HD TV. Back in the day, decoys
Literally caught in 4K. Is that it? That's what it is? Decoys are not working. Why? Because they were literally caught in 4K. I mean, kinda. But does HD and 4K matters at Battlefield? Because every video I see in Battlefield, it's not some high powered, some like DSLR camera. It's like the footage are all grainy and things, right? Because lighting conditions are not going to be great. So can you really spot it? I guess you really need to be strategic where you put it.
decoys could be produced with low quality and still be effective. But in the age of drones, install decoy
If you make it from metal, doesn't that defeat the purpose? You might as well make a real one at that point. You're using metal. I mean, maybe you like some part of it metal, not entire.
decoys don't care
If your whole thing is that you want them to waste munitions on things, but you go out of your way to make it that complicated, is that really economically feasible? Feasible. Because I get it, like ammunition is like costly, but like if you're gonna make this like thermal heat signature, EMS signature, like spinning things, pretty sure that's gonna cost a fucking lot. So if you just want it as a target practice, not put it there in the first place, like, okay, does that even matter at that point? I'm pretty sure Russia can just like build munition faster, like they're already like making millions of it every year, right? All the like bombs and things. So at that point, does that even matter, right? If you have to make that complicated.
This is the Red Army in the forest, which looks like a bunch of pink flamingos. But in reality, it's just Russian mannequins that aim to distract Ukrainian FPV pilots. And here is a bunch of more mannequins on the boats in the forest. Fishing, I guess. Now here's the kick. Russians put candles inside some mannequins to trick Ukrainians into wasting their FPV drones equipped with expensive thermal cameras. Ukrainian FPV pilots admit the cleverness of this Russian tactic and how they fell for it on previous occasions.
But how long candle is going to last, you know? Like, that has to be like timed well if it's candle. I'm guessing the candle will, I mean, if you put enough of oil there, candle can last like a long, if it's like encased inside, it can last like 12 hours or something, right? I'm pretty sure it can do that. And then after that is like something burnt inside would keep the heat signature somewhat. So it's good for like 12, 16 hours or something. I don't know.
No matter how real a decoy looks, it lacks one thing, and that's real weight. Remember that M777 decoy? It's made from wood and sewage pipes and weighs only 880 pounds, which is 10 times lighter than the real howitzer. Similarly, a decoy tank is substantially lighter than a real one, which is a big problem, because decoys don't leave track marks on the road or grass. So just by looking at the surrounding environment, one could determine that it's fake. Luckily, there is a solution for this, inspired by realistic...
Oh, so let me get this straight. If you can have like real M1 Abrams there, like hide the tracks, right? Like just like cover the tracks with something. And people will like, oh, that's a decoy, that's not attack it. So you have like M1 Abrams that's sitting there, nobody's gonna attack it. And you have like an edge now. When you need it, you can just like use as a sneak attack.
Estate agents. Location, location, location. What's as equally critical as the quality of decoys is their placement. According to Ukrainians, it's incredibly important to place decoys where real equipment had been stationed previously. This allows decoy to leverage the existing environmental footprints from the actual equipment, making them look even more convincing. Here's a rare video of a destroyed Ukrainian artillery decoy, which was located at a spot where previously a real artillery system had been used. Note other environmental footprints, like empty shell casings in the surrounding area. Similarly, Russians place decoys where actual equipment was once used before. But they also do the opposite and build entire fake positions from scratch. But why? You see, assembling forces beyond the platoon, which is between 20 to 50 troops, is a very dangerous endeavor on the modern battlefield. With constant flow of reconnaissance information from the aerial drones, it is possible to detect the movement of the troops even before they get to the front lines, which takes away the element of surprise. But the use of decoys provides some mitigation against persistent intelligence flow. In this case, Russians have built an elaborate fake refueling position, which involves mannequins doing the refueling, while the driver is sitting inside the car and enjoying some Pringles. There is even a mannequin fixing the fuel pump. There are also lots of camouflage nets and more mannequins and vehicles. Here is some laundry drying, and here is a mannequin using the bathroom. Now, this whole thing is so obviously fake that Ukrainians won't waste any resources attacking it, which begs the question, why are Russians building them? The reason for creating such a fake position is a little bit counterintuitive. Russians purposefully make it easy for Ukrainians to find and identify these compounds as fake. But then it becomes a waiting game. Russians would wait a day or a week before they replace the fake tanks and mannequins with real forces. This allows them to ambush unsuspecting Ukrainian forces who had got accustomed to this fake position.
Alright, all this dig dastardly shit is going on, but like you have to constantly adapt, constantly change. Because people will catch on like, okay, if I put fake here and it's obviously fake, but then I replace it with the real one, nobody would be wiser. Yeah, the first time. But the second time, people will just like even start to bomb the fake one because they don't want to leave any chances, right? It's like you play Fallout 3 and you see that like, you know, prams or whatever that like a baby troll is. You know it's going to be rigged with bomb even if it's not. So you're just going to stay away from it or kick it away or something, right? Or in Dead Island or Dying Light, you see a zombie lying there, you will kick it before walking away. You know it's going to jump at you. Basically something like that. People would eventually like catch up to it.
In some other instances, Russians have used fake compounds and trenches like this, filled with mannequins that are booby-trapped and are triggered when Ukrainians enter.
That is insanely thin wire, man. It's really hard to see. Look at that.
Mannequins that are
Oh, how are you supposed to look at it? It even disappeared in the video because it's so thin. Video can't even capture this resolution of it.
booby-trapped and are triggered when Ukrainians enter them. Decoys are only part of a greater toolkit in modern warfare, which includes mobility, concealment, and deception. When it comes to mobility, remember that in this day and age, aerial and satellite surveillance allows for real-time reconnaissance. So just having fake targets is not enough. When they're identified as fake, they need to be moved. When it comes to concealment, there is really no end to creativity. Just take a look at this mortar position, where Russians went above and beyond to conceal themselves. Now it resembles a grave, so it will work no matter what happens. When it comes to concealing the movement of your forces, smoke screens still work, according to Russians. But Ukrainians tend to disagree by firing cluster munitions at them.
I mean, yeah, when you throw smoke like that, I guess there are people in the smoke area or around it, or at least the places that is, sending the smoke, that equipment there. So you just give it a target, big ass target. You just like throw cluster bomb and like what is it called? Flak ammunition. I don't know how to say it. Basically spread ammunition. Basically just attacking everything. Shotgun equivalent of like artillery and howitzers, right?
Finally, deception. Whether it's Russia painting aircraft on their airfields or
bullshit. You can clearly see it. Like some has shadow, some doesn't because it's painted. Like come on. But it's really clever. Look at that. If it's cloudy out there, you wouldn't see that much of a shadow. You would be like, oh, what is real?
Fields or launching inert or obsolete missiles, as well as cheap Iranian drones to divert attention of Ukrainian air defenses. It's all part of the toolkit. But how do you identify a decoy? In many cases, decoys become apparent only after they have been targeted and the footage of their destruction has been analyzed. In this case, what gave away that this was a decoy was the unnatural green color of the Ukrainian artillery system and the lack of personnel nearby. In this other scenario, Russians thought they were targeting the Ukrainian artillery system, but it turned out to be a decoy. This is evident by the lack of secondary explosions and also pieces of plywood flying up in the air. But why are Russian inflatable decoy tanks nicknamed Rubber Product Number 2? See, the Soviet Union was an interesting country where everything that was ever made had a number. In case of rubber products, Rubber Product Number 1 was a gas mask, Rubber Product Number 3 was an eraser, Rubber Product Number 4 was boots, and Rubber Product Number 2 was condoms. So whenever Soviets went to the pharmacy to buy a condom,
Keep it rubber number 2. Oh, okay. Basically the same way how plastics have numbers, right? Plastic number 5 is, I think, polyprop. I don't know. And there is like 4 is HDP. I don't know. Like there are 5 or 6 plastic numbers, right? Numbers can tell you which type of plastic it is. Something like that. Like this is rubber, this rubber, that. I guess it kind of makes sense.
Condoms, they would simply ask for Rubber Product Number 2, and the cashier knew exactly what it meant. Russian decoy tanks and early Soviet-era condoms are both made out of rubber and are easy to spot. But only one can provide real protection.
Okay, there you go. We're gonna pause it just right there, so everybody can read it. Okay. Yeah, why decoy targets are important. Like, yeah, psychological warfare is never going to change. I mean, you have to constantly adapt. Like, it's ridiculous. But when these things blow over eventually, like decade from now or something, when people actually talk about details of the war, like more things becomes declassified, we'll realize the ingenuity people used in during this time. Oh my God. people are still like finding mines and things from the World War II era, and like this shit started. When this is over, like this is gonna be the case with like Ukraine and countries around it, right? Russia, maybe in Russia, like who knows where the war is going, but yeah, definitely in Ukraine, people will be finding like unexploded like howitzer artilleries, like mines and things. Damn, that's insane. Even the waters around it at the Black Sea, whatever, like mines like there and all. Right, well, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.